Hello, Packers and fellow NFL fans. We are here in Week 17 with the Green Bay Packers taking on the Minnesota Vikings. Sans Jaire Alexander because he's an idiot, and we'll get into that situation. But let me know what you think of the comments below, and let's talk about the Packers versus the Vikings. Packers, of course, coming off the Week 16 win, and I use that word lightly, against the Carolina Panthers, because if it was not for the Carolina Packers' lack of play call or game management at the end of the game, Panthers would have gotten another play. They probably would have scored, and the Packers would have lost. The Panthers effectively ending their playoff chances. Now, a lot of people out there are saying, like, why don't the Packers just miss out on the playoffs? Well, that very well might happen, but why would you purposely try and stay out? Tanking is for losers. So you might as well play as long as you can, because playing well to make the playoffs is far more better and far more better for the development of your team than abject losing on purpose, because tanking is for losers and the Packers have never tanked. So why continue to do that? Now we get into the Jaire Alexander situation. Suspended for a game for conduct detrimental to the team because he decided that he was a captain during the coin toss, and because he's from Charlotte of all things, and that he should, be part of the coin toss. Now, of course, he is ignorant and a complete dummy. I mean, him answering questions from reporters saying like, "Oh, I just knew I had to be out there. I mean, I'm from Charlotte. My teammates backed me up." He just sounded like a total idiot, and he just no idea about his surroundings and what was going on. Like, he almost caused the Panthers to get the ball twice in the kickoff, which is what could have very well happened. And he was told not to go out there because three players are picked to be team captain before each game. And you can't just make yourself a captain. And Jaire Alexander looks like a total dummy for doing it. Now we go into the game without him going up against Justin Jefferson, because, and this is important, because Jaire Alexander has been one of the few corners out there in the NFL that has been able to consistently keep Justin Jefferson down and just at least limit him to what he probably could have against any other cornerback. Now, the Packers still very well could win this game, and to be honest, I think I'll still pick the Packers, but not having one of your best defensive players in the game is never a good thing. Now, the Packers have been playing the past month or so without him, so it might not be such a big loss, but for him to be out of the game for something like this, it is really frustrating as a fan, but as an organization, you can't allow something like this to happen, because it totally undermines your authority and just says, oh, players can do whatever they want, and the Packers aren't that kind of organization. They're not like some of the worst organizations in the league where players can just do whatever the hell they want without fear of punishment, because it's just not a way to run a business or anything in life. But to the game, Jordan Love has been fantastic the past couple of weeks. Yes, he's had interceptions in a couple of games, but he is top 5 in passing touchdowns in the league. Now, who would have thought going into the year that Jordan Love after Week 16 would be in the top 5 for passing touchdowns in the league? But yet he gets no MVP love because, oh, he's Jordan Love. He plays for the Packers. I mean, let's be honest. He is comparable to Patrick Mahomes. He's comparable to Jalen Hurts. He's comparable to Josh Allen this year. He's comparable to a lot of the best quarterbacks in terms of stats this year. Now, he may not be as good as any of those, but the stats don't lie, and this is a stats-based league. The NFL goes by stats-based awards, like most leagues. So for him to not get any consideration at all, it just kind of screams of NFL media and others just hating the Packers, which, contrary to popular belief, most NFL media hates the Packers. It's so blatantly obvious, and this isn't just as a Packer fan. It has been blatantly obvious for the last 40, 50 years that the most NFL media just hates the Packers, and that's just not me as a Packers fan complaining. It's pretty obvious, but Jordan Love should get some MVP credit, especially if he goes out and wins this game. which I think they have a really good chance to do. Now, if Aaron Jones can play like he did last week, they should be able to have a good day on the ground against the Vikings. A.J. Dillon should be able to play, I would think. He should, even with a broken thumb, he should be able to provide some sort of change of pace out there. Hopefully, Jaden Reed is able to go. I'm just expecting Christian Watson to not be out there, so let's just consider him out because he's just too hurt to play. His hamstring is just too sore to play, and Dontavian Wicks got hurt last week, but hopefully he'll be able to go. Tucker Kraft has been great. It's been a real revelation the past couple weeks. Now, if he and Luke Musgrave can come back healthy, Packers have two good tight ends to work with. It's just something that not a lot of teams have, and that could be a big boost for next year. Offensive line has been great. Sean Ryan stepping up more. Rasheed Walker still, yes, he has a lot of procedural penalties, but he could be the true future at left tackle for the Packers. So if he wants to take that advantage, he has to work on the procedural penalties because he has a lot of them. He's had a lot of them this year, and they really shoot the Packers in the foot when such things happen. And for him being I think it was a 6th or 7th round pick, for him to be like a 7th round pick and be the Packers starting left tackle of the future, that's saying something. Now, talking about Rasheed Walker, he should have, when he was drafted, I believe, or thought that he could have gone 3rd or 4th, and that he dropped down because of stupid reasons. For him to be the future left tackle is pretty something. Now we get to the defense. And yes, the defense is awful. It has been awful for most of the year, but we all know Joe Barry's not going anywhere, and that's a true damning statement, especially when you hear Matt LaFleur talking about how he can't fire Joe Barry because he doesn't trust anybody on the defense or to run the defense. That feels far worse. That's a much more damning statement than just saying that Joe Barry's bad. Like, he's so bad, but you have nobody else to back him up and take over the defensive play calling that he has to stay. It's not good. Hopefully the Packers can work on some of their personal foul penalties, because there were a couple last week that certainly hurt the Packers at times and really contributed to the Panthers coming back. Devontae Wyatt needs to stay on sides. No more personal fouls from Isaiah McDuffie or Lucas Van Ness. And it's just, things need to be cleaned up a lot, because the Vikings may not be the best team in the league, but we know how the Vikings like to play against the Packers. You know how they root themselves up to play against the Packers, because that's like their Super Bowl, because they never win anything, because the Vikings are the Vikings. But they still have some players. Now, for the Packers' sake, it benefits them that Hockenson is out for the rest of the year, which really sucks for him. And just the NFL, torn ACL and torn MCL, boy, that will probably be hard to come back from, I would think. Jordan Addison is day-to-day, so it's really unclear if he's actually going to be able to play. We know Justin Jefferson is going to give it us all, and without Jaire Alexander there to help cover, he probably could have a really good day. Tyson Chandler has been a pretty decent running back the past couple of weeks. It's been a good ad, especially if you have him in fantasy in your fantasy playoffs, for having him. And their defense has been sneaky good. They've been able to cause lots of havoc. They've been getting sacks left and right, and they've been pretty good in coverage. And so the Vikings are going to be a tough matchup. It is in Minnesota, of course, so that's always a tough place to play, always, because they always are bumping in crowd noise left and right, because that's what teams like the Vikings do, bumping crowd noise into their dome. And I still think the Packers have a good chance to win. I mean, if they don't, there's no playoffs, and then we can just look towards next year and hopefully the firing of Joe Barry. But I think they really can win this game. It sounds like Josh Dobbs is going to be the starting quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings, so he's going to get another chance at redemption after several bad games in a row. But I mean, I can't blame him, because Nick Volans has, while he's had some good amount of yards, it's had a couple touchdowns here and there, his turnovers have really shot them in the foot. I mean, he had 4 interceptions last week against the Lions. One less interception, and they probably win that game, and they're in a far better playoff position. But Packers have a real shot to win. Vikings have a real shot to win as well. It's going to be a very closely matched game. Packers and Vikings always play each other tough, except for last year, where the Packers absolutely demolished them in Lambeau Field. And I mean, this same defense the Packers have now played against the Vikings about 2 months ago. And it was the offense that couldn't get going. That was the reason why they didn't win. The Packers defense kept them in that first half. It was 10-3. If the Packers offense had played like they did now, the Packers very well could have won that first matchup. So, I mean, it sucks that Jaire Alexander is not out there, but the Packers defense has shown they can play this Vikings team. So, I think the Packers do win 27-24 in the end. It's going to be a great match. Hopefully they don't lose, because that would be a terrible way to bring in 2024. But Packers win on Sunday, 27-24 against the Vikings. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Otherwise, have a great day. God bless, and go Pack.